Well, hello, First and Calvary leaders. How are you all doing? This is Don, your pastor. This is my office. This is one of those semi-monthly, quarterly-ish uh, fireside chats with Don at his office. It's been a while since I've done one of those, so I just wanted to reach out to all the leaders of the church and give you some updates. And specifically right now, I want to give you some exciting updates about our worship services. So as you'll recall, a little bit of background about these updates. As you'll recall, when Wendy and I first got here, which by the way was like 21 months ago, it's like we're coming up on our 2 years. I can't believe that. It's like flown by. But when we first got here, remember we took a survey as a church and about when people prefer to have a service on Sunday morning. And 65% of us, we found, prefer a later worship service, like at 11 o'clock. And 35% of us prefer an earlier worship service. So armed with that knowledge, back then, our worship committee and session added what we called the early service. A little over a year ago, maybe 16 months ago, maybe 15 months ago. And we put the service at 8:45 to be helpful to the 35% of us who prefer an early service. And then secondly, we gave the service a different shape to be helpful to younger generations who prefer contemporary music and conversation. And the early service, so the last 15 months, it has proven to be a blessed time. It is gorgeous what is happening at 8:45 in that sanctuary for all who attend. I mean, helping lead that service, being a part of that service, has been one of the biggest highlights of my last year. I would find myself crying in worship in that early service. There's something beautiful and tender about it. In addition to it being a blessed time, we've learned two things over the last 15 months of having this service. Number one, we've learned that an early service really isn't helpful for younger generations. And we knew that, but really it's been confirmed. They love the different shape of the service, and it draws them to the service, but it's an unfortunate time of day for them. The second thing we've learned is that for the 35% of us who prefer an earlier service, we weren't really drawn to a differently shaped service. Folks haven't been attending. So given the two things that we've learned, our worship committee and our session have approved two changes that are going to be effective Sunday, June 4th. The first change, we are adding a Sunday night service that'll be at 6:30 p.m. And the second thing we're doing is that we're suspending the early service. So let me kind of unpack those two things for you, kind of give you a little context and explain it. Let's talk about the Sunday night service. So this is really exciting. The Sunday night service is going to be held in the atrium. It's gorgeous. And it's going to feature contemporary music. Each week, there's going to be a dessert afterwards, after the service, with optional discussion groups and, games, pickleball, all sorts of opportunities, so that every week, the people who are coming to the Sunday night service have both fellowship opportunities and discipleship growth opportunities built into that night. Really excited about that. And some weeks, we're going to start monthly. For starters, the worship service is going to be preceded by a dinner. So there'll be a dinner prior to the worship service at 5:30 and then 6:30 worship. Similar to the rhythm of the Lenten Sunday evening experience that we did, and people loved having dinner together before worship. So at least once a month, we're going to be doing that, which just gives even more fellowship opportunities. Really fun. Now, we're beginning the service on June 4th, but we're going to be doing a more public launch of the service with more marketing, more advertising, etc., on August 20th. Now, why are we doing that? Because by August 20th, our new worship teams that we're forming will have a few months under their belt, right? We'll have a few months under our belt of worshiping in the atrium, figuring out what works best there. And then we'll kind of do a more public launch August 20th when MSU is back in session, the college students are back, when people with school-age kids, their kids are back in school, and so they're back into their regular kind of school year rhythms. So June 4th, this will begin. August 20th is when we'll do a more public launch of the service. Okay, now to the second change, suspending the early service. So if you're one of the 35% of us who prefer an earlier worship service, I want you to be heartened and be glad to know that we're already going back to the drawing board. We're actively talking about how to develop an earlier service on Sunday mornings that's more traditionally shaped. So I'm excited for what we're going to come up with there. I'm hopeful about that. We don't have anything concrete yet, but I want you to know, if the early service, you prefer having a traditionally shaped early service, stay tuned. I'll let you know more when I know more. So I just want you to know, friends, I'm really excited about these changes. I'm excited to have a contemporary service on Sunday nights. Did you know, this isn't why we're doing it, but this is a bulletin from First Calvary from 1930. Like, what was the date here? If I can read in my October 19, 1930. And I was looking at this and I noticed, I don't know if you can see that, they had Sunday evening worship even back then. That's not why we're doing it, but I just think it's interesting that sometimes history rhymes. So I'm really excited about a contemporary service on Sunday nights. I'm praying that this is going to help us grow in a lot of different ways. A lot of people prefer contemporary worship, or like it really having fresh expressions of worship really helps them. So I'm praying it helps us grow in that way. And then it helps us grow younger, to be honest with you. And I'm excited that we're moving towards having 3 worship services, that one day we'll have an early service, 11 o'clock service, and an evening service. And I'm praying that having 3 different services like that is going to help us grow overall. I don't know if you've noticed, but some weeks that 11 o'clock service, the sanctuary is getting uncomfortably full. And that's exciting for us, but for new people, it can feel like, is there really a place for me here? So I'm excited to have 3 services. And I think it's going to position us to grow. That's what I'm praying for. I think, friends, I really do think these are the right moves, ultimately, to help us grow as a house of prayer for every generation. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're about. That's the vision we're pursuing. That's what motivates me. That's what gets me out of bed. That's what I pray for. And I invite you to continue praying for that with me, that we would be more and more all the time a house of prayer for every generation. And I want to invite you all to join me in kind of praying for this. And if you have any questions about either of these 2 changes, or comments or thoughts or whatever, just reach out to me. Shoot me an email, give me a call, grab me on a Sunday morning. If you have any questions or thoughts, I'd love to talk to you. Again, these changes take place June 4th. I wanted you as the leaders to know first what the worship committee and session have decided. Later this coming Sunday at the early service, I'm going to be letting the early service people know about this and kind of walk them through the context, just personally, to do that face-to-face with them. And because the service they're currently going to is going away. And again, I think down the line, hopefully soon, we're going to have another early service, but we just don't know when that'll be yet. So I'm going to let them know. And then early next week, an email is going to go out to the whole congregation from me, a special email, kind of letting them know. So just so you know the communication plan, I would ask all of you as leaders, if you could hold this information for right now and let me inform the people who go to the early service, and let me inform the congregation through that email. That'd be really helpful. I'd appreciate that. I appreciate everything you guys do. I love partnering with you. I love the ministry that we're about here at First and Calvary. This morning, I was invited to pray at the Springfield prayer breakfast really, really early in the morning. It was like way too early, but regardless, they had bacon, so it was fine. But being there and getting to just like pray and join with other believers from throughout Springfield and other leaders and just pray for our community. What an honor it is to be here. I love that God moved Wendy and I here. I'm excited for what is coming up. All right, that's it for this fireside desk office chat with your pastor. I'll see you next time.